From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of afternoons LA from the shores of Santa Monica, California, with your fourth stimulus check update of April 2022. We'll go over the incredible breaking details on your big checks that have now landed. Not less than 1, 2, 3 checks have landed from the fourth stimulus in today's big update. We'll be looking at all those incredible checks, how to get them. A $6,500 check became law March 31st. Then, a $15,000 to $80,000 check from fourth stimulus became law March 4th. And then, MSC checks have become a law and have been paying out an average of $25,000. We'll be looking at each of these incredible checks in today's recording. Then we'll be going back to the Build Back Better Act and the other stimulus packages across the board. A seventh stimulus package is just days away. That's May 2nd, when the president will decide whether to forgive student loan debt or not. Then we have the changing developing details on that interest rate front with the Federal Reserve and its urge to get inflation down. But to do so, will they be bringing recession in? We'll be analyzing new analysis, new statements, and new comments that came out today for April 9th, 2022. That signals the Federal Reserve does not have the tools to bring down inflation and may be bringing you just recession to the front door. Oh my goodness. Then we'll be looking back to sixth stimulus that heats up in just days as Macron battles for his re-election bid in France to set up the progressive alliance of France, Germany, and the United States and give you a big, huge stimulus package. The lightest, biggest we've seen of a generation. It's sixth stimulus. Then we'll be going back to Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon that will likely go to potential vote the month of April. And what's at issue, what will get modified, and what will stay in. We'll be looking at all the other issues at hand: oil, wheat, grain, and soybeans. And then the economic data that came in this week that impacts your Build Back Better Act and also your SS300. But the big question as we go into a new week is, does the Federal Reserve have the tools to reduce inflation? Or is raising interest rates not going to solve inflation and just bring recession to the door? All that analysis in today's recording, and it comes up in the final minutes of this video. It's all what you need to know. It's all here, and it's a big afternoon from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Let's get to the news, starting right now. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a beautiful day here along the coast of Santa Monica, California, with your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. Lots of breaking news today for April 9th, 2022, as we now see that the Federal Reserve will be coming more aggressively on those interest rates. Could that aggressive position actually not solve inflation, but just give you a lots of higher interest rates and potentially then what's after that? Recession. We'll be analyzing that breaking developing details in the second half of this video. See the final minutes of this video as new analysts are now reconfirming my concerns for the last few months. But first we're going to go to those big checks. 3 checks have now heated up and landed across the board. A $6,500 check became a law March 31st. Have you got it? I'll show you how to get it in today's recording. A $15,000 to $80,000 check became law as well. These are fourth stimulus checks. They have gone out. They are law, and they're landing in people's hands. They are huge, massive payouts. More than anything we've seen in a long time. Then a $24,000 MSC check as well. Wow. We have a lot of money in today's recording. But you know how we're going to rock and roll? We're going to start first with the Build Back Better Act. The fourth stimulus recon, which many insiders think that will go to a vote in the month of April because there's been a lot of changes across the board. Number 1, a new bipartisan element at issue. Number 2, a renewed sentiment to get things done. And number 3, the economic data, which we're going to go over in just a second. So what is in Build Back Better, the fourth stimulus recon? There are 3 classes of checks and 3 add-ons that pay about $15,000. So let's look at those incredible checks one at a time, and let's see if there's any surprises. Hazard Pay got in there one more year for the earned income tax credit for their essential workers. $4,000 of elder care. Wow. Then $3,600 for the young children. The $4,000 of care for young children as well. Pell Grant for my college students, $550 checks. And then they got in their nutrition plus. They got in there $12,500 for the purchase of your first electric vehicle. The first add-on of checks to the Build Back Better Act, remember, because there's 3 checks, 3 clusters, and 3 add-ons, is a little bit less than $25,000. This got in there via Maxine Waters here for the shores of Southern California. This is money for the purchase of your first home. My goodness, that is incredible. How do you get these and these other checks in the Build Back Better Act for Stimulus Recon? You tune in tonight to Evenings LA in prime time. It's America's most watched show for financial news. It's at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. As we turn to the second cluster of checks in the Build Back Better Act, we have a surprise. There lays the big money for paid leave, which is upwards of $4,000 to $6,000 a year if you have to take off from work. And then home repairs. Hold up. Surprise, surprise. We're just a few minutes into this video and the first surprise happens. That check is now law. What? Yes, let me tell you what happened. Well, that home repairs, that is to weatherize your home, which is in the second cluster, was extracted by the jaws of life by Joseph Biden just a few weeks ago and made law. Yes, you're hearing me right. He sat back and said, why wait for that? Just make it law. And it has become a law, and it has landed in people's hands. My goodness. Which check is that? That is check A on our checks of A, B, and C. The President of the United States took it out and made it a law. Let's look at the graphic. Here we go. That incredible check is the $6,500 check became a law by Joseph Biden March 31st. Took it out of the Build Back Better Act. Wow, that is incredible. Let's go back into the second cluster and then the second add-on of checks. That second cluster, of course, has paid leave, which pays a lot, $4,000 to $6,000 a year. And then we turn to the second add-on of checks, which is a little bit less than $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Got in there via Bob Casey, pushed initially by Joe Biden during his campaign for president. That third cluster has lots of great checks, free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, and then seniors checks, lots of checks for them, dental checks, vision checks, hearing checks, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55 checks, Medicaid gap fix, providing a workaround plan. They'll provide insurance for uninsured people in 12 Republican holdout states, which is par for the course when we're talking about adding checks to the Build Back Better Act. The other checks that they represent, they would add in there, of course, are MSC. These are 4 stimulus MSC checks, which are different than the third stimulus MSC checks, which are coming up later in this video. Stay with me. There's a lot still coming up. Who gets this? Well, let's go over the details. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. Double it. Family of 4, you get it as well. Quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, or veterans benefits, you get as well. This is an IRS MSC check. The legislators represent that this payout is the same as a third stimulus check. Wow. So how much does it pay? Well, the legislators represent that it would pay 6 months of checks at $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter. That is huge. But what's better than the Build Back Better provision for those MSC checks is third stimulus MSC checks. Build Back Better's provision that they propose for MSCs is 6 months, totaling $7,000. Third stimulus is paying out under MSC checks right now, not 6 months, but on average 12 months. Oh my goodness. And not $7,000, on average $24,000. Oh wow. And many viewers have tracked on average for this channel, LALATE, $24,000 of these MSC checks. That is huge. So that is the comparison. Is Build Back better for MSC? No. Third stimulus is better at the moment. That is check C. Oh my goodness. We're going to go over that check in just a second. But here's what you need to know is that Build Back Better Act, not law, currently still in the Senate, and check A and B extracted and made law by Joseph Biden since then. A $6,500 check from 4 stimulus is now law. $15,000, $80,000 check from 4 stimulus is now law. And an MSC check, you're waiting for that for 4 stimulus? Don't wait for it because it's now law under third stimulus. Oh, yes, baby. That check is coming up in just a second. But now let's turn to the developing details of that SS300. Let's understand what SS300 is. SS300 was a Joseph Biden campaign promise for President of the United States where he said he would swap out your COLA benefits for inflation and then reform the entire system. Well, the entire system reforming requires a fifth stimulus. They don't have that on track yet. But the SS300 is looking very interesting. What is SS300? The concept is to swap your COLA for inflation as the benchmark, which will raise your benefits not $200 just this month, not just this year, but a lifetime. Oh, baby. Because inflation is currently tracking at 8%. That is where it was in December, in February. And if it's 8% right now, it may actually be even higher, some analysts now believe, because the 10-year Treasury note is tracking even higher. So if Joseph Biden made that swap in COLA and inflation right today, you would raise your benefits up $200 a lifetime. But what about later this year, though? Later this year, it depends on where inflation is going to be. So if inflation is 4%, which is what Jay Powell had said in February, that would raise your benefits up another $100. That is SS300. It all looks really good until we get to the part of Jay Powell. He is head of the Federal Reserve, and his job is to reduce inflation. And he reduces inflation by raising interest rates. Well, that is where it gets quite interesting. Because you want Joe Biden, your president of the United States, to swap COLA for inflation right now, when inflation is at its highest price point of a generation. Before this guy comes in and reduces it very dramatically. Now, we have a lot of breaking news on this front for this weekend, and it will continue this week for April 9th, 2022. The latest detail is that a lot more analysts are saying what I've been saying for the last 2 weeks. Jay Powell wants to reduce inflation. Jay Powell will attempt to reduce inflation, but will Jay Powell actually reduce inflation? Wow. This is a big question. So, all last year we talked about whether Jay Powell was going to come in with those interest rate spikes to reduce inflation. That's what we call as Fed speak or Fed watch. And then we've seen Jay Powell really change in the last 7 days. If you miss any recording on this channel, you will see a totally different narrative day in, day out from Jay Powell. He went from February saying we're getting down to 4% inflation by doing quarter basis point just for a few months of interest rate spikes. Then we went to the FOMC meeting where he said, no, we're getting down to 1.9% inflation later this year. Then we had a week after the FOMC meeting in late March saying, we'll maybe do 1.5 basis point. Then in early April saying, well, maybe 2.5 basis point. Now Fed governors like Bullard, who's very, very insanely aggressive. He's the Fed governor out of St. Louis, saying, maybe we need 300 basis point, actually 600 basis point increases, which is just astronomical. Looking at half basis point increases over 6 meetings, just astronomical. So we've seen this gamut of maybe Jay Powell coming in very aggressively and me doing the analysis for you. Well, if Joe makes a swap today, we're fine. If Joe makes a swap in early April, we're fine. Late April, I think we're still fine. But then we get very confused by May, because is inflation going to drop to 5% in May if Jay Powell comes in with all these aggressive pushes? Well, a lot more analysts today are saying, sorry, Jay Powell does not have the tools. Jay Powell does not have the tools to reduce inflation. Here is my takeaway for you, which is very important today. Certain things we know, certain things we don't know. Number one, I think we can say that we do not know that if Jay Powell has the tools to bring inflation down to, let's say, 5% in May. I think we do know that he doesn't have the tools to bring it down to 1.9% by December. I don't think anyone and their sister's brother thinks that inflation is going to get to 1.9% in December if it's at 8% right now in April. It's an astronomical free fall. I don't think he can do it. I don't think he can do it. Why? The same reasons what Wall Street is saying today, which I've been saying for the last few weeks. Let's go over the details. Why do you have inflation? That's part of the equation. If inflation is something Jay Powell cannot fix because he doesn't have the tools that concern inflation, then he can't fix it. And that's what Wall Street is now saying for April 9th, 2022, is that he can't get down to 1.9%. Good. That's another $100 on your benefits later this year if Joe makes that swap from COLA to inflation. So what about that $200 right now? That is where it gets interesting. This issue causing inflation right now is supply chain. a bunch of tankers and barges coming out of China, landing in U.S. ports, cannot get taken off and unpacked, cannot get taken off the port and put onto trucks and sent to the Midwest. That's the problem. Raising interest rates at the Federal Reserve's beautiful building, does that solve the problems of the tankers at the ports? No, of course not. Of course it does not. So that's what Wall Street and I have been agreeing upon it today, but I've been saying for over 2 months. But that still doesn't relieve us with the situation for May. When you talk about reducing inflation, you can get it down just by talking about it, and that's what Jay Powell's doing. So is that 5%? In my opinion, no. Here's my analysis for today. I don't think when we're looking at May that we're looking at 5% inflation. Maybe he gets it down to 6% if there's nothing else going on. But it looks like at the moment, I think he may only get it down to 7%. Wow, that's really good news. Now let's go over the other part of the news today, which is that when we look at Build Back Better Act, when we look at SS300, we have a lot of economic data that came out, as you saw in the last few minutes with Jay Powell, and in the last week. And what does that data say to us? The data says to us that Build Back Better Act has better support now than it had maybe a month ago. Why? We have had a lot of economic data, folks, in the last 7 days. And the vast majority of it is a miss, with the exception of the unemployment numbers. So let's go over the data, which is a miss and which is a beat. If you're new to this channel, a miss means the data was weaker. Let's say we're looking for 10 new jobs created in the month of February. We came in at 2. That's a miss. Let's say it came in at 20. That's a beat. When we're saying weak or poor, it means the economy is stalling up. It's not delivering the type of support that we thought. So what was the economic data last few days? First, the gross national product was a miss. The analysts put it at 6.9%, coming down from 7.1%, and some analysts are now putting it at 4% by the end of the year. I have breaking news on this one. I forgot. I can't remember all this. There's some analysts that now say that we may definitely have a 1 or 2% growth by the end of the year. Okay, so let's go over the data. What does recession mean? Recession generally means that you have negative growth. You have negative growth, like -1%, -2%. I've been telling you that I don't think the full recession of the U.S. economy will be until next year. I think that 2 industries are currently in recession right now. But there's another thing that has another term to it, which is not recession. A lot of people don't use this term. It's called soft this, soft that. That says basically you just don't have growth. You're just sort of a flat economy. And that would mean 0 or 0.1 or 0 or 0.5% growth by December. Boy, folks, that is breaking news. If you have 0.5% growth in this economy, Bernie Sanders and everyone who's a progressive is going to be screaming, shouting, said, you have a 0.5% growth? Well, we need stimulus. That's the concept of stimulus. The economy's not moving. And what's my analysis right now? I think we're going to head down to about 1% growth or a 0.5% growth. I think we're heading there by the end of the year. So I think that's exactly why you need Build Back Better Act, and I think that's what they're looking at as well. Then we had the housing market. The housing market, in my opinion, is the first of 2 industries which are in recession. The second one is the auto industry. I think both of those industries are currently in recession. Housing industry had a lot of misses this week. 4th consecutive month of housing starts down. Housing starts are how many houses are sold. Number 2, the cost to repair the home and the cost to build the home is still out of control. So your profit margin is really shrinking. Number 3, the mortgage industry is a record high since the 1980s. 5%, no one can afford a home for 5%. And April's when you sell a home. That's the month when you sell a home because it looks good. The housing market is a big boom in April. Not happening. Housing numbers are absolutely horrible. What was a beat this week? The beat was the unemployment numbers, folks. These unemployment numbers were really good. 166,000 new unemployment claims for the week last announced. Lowest number of new unemployment claims since the 1960s, nearly over 40, 50 plus years. It's huge. Then the number of reoccurring unemployment claims where people were unemployed and then still unemployed, these are called the long-term unemployment claims. There were 17.8 million a year ago. There are a lot more in 2020. During the thick of the pandemic, they're now 1 1.7 million. Wow, that is a major beat. So people are not unemployed. Moreover, there's a lot of jobs for them. We don't need to create jobs. There's 5 jobs available for every unemployed American. So there is no problem on the labor front. There is no problem with getting people jobs. There's no problem with available jobs. There is a problem with the cost of living, how much it costs for rent, how much it costs for food, and how much it costs for your medicine, things like that. Folks, that's exactly what Build Back Better Act is all about. We'll be going over that after the latest details. So what is my concept and my approach on the analysis right now? I think the Build Back Better Act will go for a vote in the next 30 days. I think that's what analysts and what congressional leaders are hinting at. And then I think the SS300 is fine if they make that swap in the month of April. Coming in May, I think it gets a little bit dicey. But what's coming up after the commercial break? Whoa, lots of checks, very exciting checks. Are you ready for them? Let's look at them. Look at these checks. $6,500 check became law on March 31st. $15,000 to $80,000 check became law on March 4th. And a $24,000 check, oh boy, how do you get these checks? You become a member. During the commercial breaks, you become a member. The link is at the top of the chat and in the pinned comment. Become a member by becoming a Purple Hawk, or a Purple Power, or a Calcino VIP at the highest level of membership benefits. Become a member today and get that membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, delivered via the YouTube alert system. One viewer yesterday said, wow, your membership newsletter blew me away. It was astronomically jam-packed with news. It is very voluminous. Thank you for that beautiful comment. That it comes again 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock Central, 7 Pacific Standard Time. Become a member. Become a member. And after the commercial break, we'll be going over these 3 big checks. We got a lot of money, and then we'll be turning to 6 stimulus and 7 stimulus as well. The heat is on, and we're talking about stimulus. We're not talking about that heat wave here in Southern California. It finally settled down. But I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. As a big, bold, beautiful day of Afternoons LA continues. See you back shortly. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues in the big second half of Afternoons LALATE from April 9th, 2022. Did you get that membership signed up during the commercial break? I hope you did, because in the second half, we're going to go over those 3 checks that viewers are now getting. They're cleaning up. Many viewers have gotten over $150,000 from this channel by being members. If you haven't seen those numbers on this channel in several weeks, well, let me recap for you how well members of this channel have done in recent months. We've been covering these items, many versions of these items for a while, and let's look at these incredible numbers. Here's Mark. He had gotten $50,000. He grew to over $100,000. Here's Lorraine. She got $105,000. She didn't stay back on that. She got more. She went back and got $120,000. Let's look at the people that got money for rent on this channel in recent months. Yeah, look at those enormous sums of money. Let's look at the people who've got enormous sums of money for utilities. Wow. And then people got SNAP. Incredible. And then people who got the combos. like Mark and others. These are massive sums of money. So this is what this channel has always really done. And so get your pen and paper ready. You're ready to rock and roll? I know you are. Let's get to the details. The President of the United States, over the month of March, took 2 checks out of the Build Back Better Act for civil recon and made them law. Incredible. That's on top of an MSC check, which is also now law from third stimulus. These are checks A, B, and C. And as soon as they were announced by the President of the United States, they were covered nowhere. No financial news channel except here. This is why this is LALATE, and this is why it has the #1 most watched show for financial news in prime time, Monday through Sunday. That's 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, evenings LA. As soon as it was announced by the President of the United States, I immediately put in the membership newsletter that night, one at a time as they came out. And I said, pounce, Purple Hawks. Get this money right now because it won't be around indefinitely. And viewers have cleaned up. So the good news is that in most everywhere you can still get these big sums of money. So let's go over these incredible sums of money right now. And when I say most everywhere, the exception is just one state. So we're doing pretty well out of A, B, and C. Let's look at the incredible sums of money right now. We're going to go over each of these checks. But first, let's go over them broadly, and then we'll go over them, each of them in detail. Get your pen and paper ready. A $6,500 check became law March 31st. That is the homeowner's weatherizing grant check. B, a $15,000 to $80,000 forced stimulus check became law March 4th, 2022. That is the homeowner's grant check. And number C, a $24,000 MSC check became law last year, but it's been paid out now. So let's go over each of these checks one at a time. First check is that check A. It's a $6,500 check to weatherize your home. And in some states, they pay more than $6,500. Yes, in some states, they pay $12,000. This, yes, my friends, is a forced stimulus check. It was taken out by Joseph Biden from the Build Back Better Act and is now law. We call it the homeowner's weatherizing grant check. And the income qualification is great because it's the same as a stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. And where do you get it and how do you get it? First, let me remind you that if you're a beneficiary, you can get this check as well. So if you're a senior on Social Security, you can get it. And if you're a veteran, you can get it as well. The last qualification, of course, is that you own your own home. So let me go over something you need to know before we progress. First, do not get hung up on the words homeowner or weatherizing. Is my mobile home going to qualify? What type of weatherizing? Don't think too much. Just get your application on file. Listen to the video, get that pen and paper ready. As every video starts, take notes and get your application on file. Don't think too much about it because weatherizing means different things in different states. They don't have tornadoes in Southern California and they don't have surf warnings in Kansas. So there's all different approaches to these words. Just get your application on file. So how do you get the application on file, LA? Well, the way you do it is you become a member. You become a member and get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Then go right into that membership newsletter and look for check A. It's right at the top. The newsletter starts with the price of oil, the price of wheat, the price of grain today. And then right after that is check A. It'll say $6,500. And I'll have the link to go right in and apply. So click the link and you go right in and apply to get incredible sums of money. It'll first send you to the national website. Then you'll choose your state, like let's say Alabama. And then you'll choose that state's home weatherizing grant link. It'll say Alabama home weatherizing. You're ready to rock and roll. You're done. Get your application file and you're ready and you're done. Congratulations to the viewers of the channel who have gotten check A. Now let's go to check B. It looks like A, but it's slightly different. Check B is more money and pays for a lot of other items, but it bears some resemblance. Look at check B right now. Is it a forced stimulus check as well? It is. Joe Biden made this law just a few weeks earlier. It's been a law now, about 6 weeks. First, it's a $15,000 to $80,000 check. Second, the income qualification is the same. Single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it as well. And if you're on benefits, you can get it, like Social Security or veterans, for example. So what is this check called? It's called the homeowner's grant check. Wow. And it pays for a lot of other items not covered in this first check, like home repairs. Incredible. That is incredible. So how do you get this check? You become a member and you click the link and it goes right into the national website. You then choose your respective state on the map and you go to your respective state, you click the link and you apply. And then when it says approved, you get funded about a week thereafter. The average view of this channel is getting about $66,000 to $80,000 from check B. That is huge. That is check A and B. Now, get ready for check C if you're a renter, because there you go. We've done 2 checks. Let's go over the 3 checks together. A, B, and C. If you're a homeowner, you can get A, B, and C. Notice the word and in the sentence. Homeowner, you can get A, B, and C. And if you're a renter, you get check C. So I got a check covered for everyone on this channel. Let's turn to check C. You're ready with your pen and paper to take notes? Here we go. Check C is paying out on average $2,000 a month for 12 months. Many viewers have gotten on average $150,000 from this as well. You heard me right, $150,000. But we've generally tracked an average at $45,000 on this since it became law last year. What is this? This is a third stimulus check. And unlike the check A and B that involve going to a website to apply, this involves no website. This involves you and your telephone. It doesn't even have to be a cell phone. Let's go over the details of that check and how you get it right now. First, let's remember that this is much better than Build Back Better Act. Build Back Better Act has, or proposes to have, 6 checks at $1,000 a pop after the first one is $2,000. That is only $7,000 over 6 checks. This, however, is paying viewers on average 12 checks, on average $2,000, which is a lot more than $7,000, folks. Yeah, this is a lot better than Build Back Better Act, or as I should say, a lot better than Build Back Better Act. So how do you get these checks from check C? Very simple. Get your pen and paper ready. We're going to go over the details right now. Are you ready? I'm ready. You're going to reach out to a series of places. Here we go. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, and your county housing authority. You're also going to reach out to your state hall and your state housing authority. That is 6 places to reach out to, but if you're a member, you're going to see in just a second how I got 5 additional places for you to reach out to. Again, another benefit of being a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP on this channel. Your keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID, utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say words like stimulus check or MSC. They don't know those words. You must reach out to all 6 places, but if you're a member, let's go back to that graphic. You're going to reach out to more than 6 places because you have the additional nonprofit places featured in the newsletter. Yes. Put multiple applications in the file, do lots of months, and yes, lean on those nonprofits. See the membership newsletter for more because the membership newsletter has those nonprofits. Those nonprofits pay for other sums of money, and that will bring you upwards of 15 plus places to reach out to. Huge details across the board. Rely on those nonprofits and get those big sums of money today. Get these big sums of money for these MSC checks. The average viewer of the channel is getting $45,000. A lot of viewers have gotten over $100,000. You can get it. I have complete faith in you. You can rock and roll. Get these big sums of money today. And there you go, folks. Did you become a member yet? Become a member. The membership newsletter comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, delivered via the YouTube alert system. The membership link is at the top of the chat in the pinned comment. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP and get that big sums of money today. Of more about these sums of money later in this video. Stay with me. A lot of big developing details and a surprise later in this recording. All right, let's go now into the developing details about student loan debt forgiveness. Really fascinating. Student loan debt forgiveness goes to a potential determination on May 2nd. Why do we say potential? It's actually really solidified, not potential, because the President of the United States actually confirms this. His chief of staff, Ron Klain, says that the president will make a determination on student loan debt by May 2nd. Why? Because the repayment of your student loan debt had been on moratorium through the days of COVID, and that determination is set to be unveiled in just a few moments. What's at issue is that the president has 3 options. 1, to extend the moratorium, which I think he may do. Number 2, to forgive the debt, which he can also do, or 3, to do nothing. So forgiving the student loan debt is a big possibility and gets a lot of push today or this week. Why? Because the former education secretary under Biden says Joe knows he can forgive student loan debt. We passed the law during his tenure as vice president. He can forgive the student loan debt. This is no surprise to him. So I think he will forgive the student loan debt. Let's now turn to sixth stimulus. Sixth stimulus is getting very interesting. We're going to have more about this tonight on Evenings LA in prime time. That's a big show. Sixth stimulus is getting very interesting. Why? Because it is a trifecta of the progressive alliance of Germany, France, and the United States that is involved with the sixth stimulus, or was initially involved with the sixth stimulus, and now we're getting questions of whether Germany's out. We don't know if it is in or if it's out. What's at issue? First stimulus for COVID, second stimulus for COVID, third stimulus coming out of COVID, fourth stimulus coming out of COVID, fifth for seniors, 7 for student loan debt forgiveness, and 6 for recession caused by Putin. Oil, wheat, grain, banking industry, all those big issues for recession. And initially, Anthony Blinken, your Secretary of State, reached out to Germany and France the first week of the Ukrainian war and said, you know what, get off of those Russian products. Germany said no, thank you, but no. And then he pushed back, Blinken said, it's a moral obligation to get off those products. And they said, I guess you're right, we'll get off the products. And then that was fine until a week ago, where Germany said, no, we're not getting off the products. Excuse me? So now it gets a little dicey. We're waiting to see if Macron is reelected in just a few days. He's the president of France, because that's the trifecta. German's chancellor, French president, and Joe Biden. But what happens if Germany is really not on board with us? Well, it doesn't make a big difference, because Joe Biden will do it domestically. You have to do it domestically, because guess what? This economy, in my opinion, already has 2 industries in recession. I've been reporting this for over 2 months, I think it's 2 months, that this economy already has 2 industries in recession, which are housing and also auto, and that the rest of the industries will be in a recession by 2023 for 2 years. So the problem at issue is that the White House has several industries to fix that are not the ones I just went over. And if it doesn't, we all go in recession. Those industries are oil, wheat, grain, and others. And what is the White House doing? Let's go over the analysis of them one at a time. Number one, the oil industry. When the invasion of Ukraine occurred, I told you the president has to get the price of gasoline down by the month of May, or we go in recession. So what has the White House done? The White House did nothing in getting oil, let's say, from Venezuela, the number 1 exporter of oil. Nothing with OPEC when we covered OPEC for, I think it was about 5 days on the channel, where OPEC had meetings and said, we're not ramping up production. Nah. Yeah. You just want to I was unhappy when I saw OPEC do that. And then the president really focusing on the JCPOA. The JCPOA is a major deal that's been 15 years in the workings to get oil from one of the biggest producers of the globe. Who? Iran. Iran's oil has not been available on U.S. soils because they've been embargoed, sanctioned by the United States for their proliferation of nuclear warheads. Well, JCPOA is an agreement to get them to disarm the nuclear warheads in exchange for the release of 1.5 million barrels by December and nearly 500,000 barrels right today. Well, we saw that deal literally at the edge of the finish line. Then the foreign minister for Russia saying, don't do the deal, Iran, because we can't trade with you. Then the White House reaching out to that foreign minister saying, you can do Iranian deals. Oh, well, thank you. And then Russia blessing the JCPOA. And then we're ready to rock and roll on the JCPOA. And then suddenly nothing. You know, in the 2 years that this channel has been around, it's approaching its 2-year anniversary, April 25th, 2022. I think this is sort of the Agatha Christie mystery of this channel. I've never had an event where I cannot tell you what happened. All I have is that quote from that overseas analyst that says, it's one of those times where you see that something almost done and it's not done. But why did it not happen? I just can't tell you. It's very mind-blowing. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell says that it's not getting to an end. It would be a shame not to reach a similar agreement. Sometimes you think you're almost there and other days not. Well, why not? Germany and France were negotiating the deal on behalf of the United States in Vienna. That's where the negotiations were going. And they were literally done. And they even had elements in the deal there, which I had covered about exchanging a Iranian national who's in custody back to Iran, releasing millions and millions of debt of currency of Iranian currency held in British banks. A lot of big things. I think there's a British citizen being released back to Britain from Iran. A lot of big things, and then suddenly, no talk about it. Excuse me. So what did the president do? The president did do the release of 1 million strategic barrels of strategic reserves of gasoline over the next 6 months. And guess what? That does nothing. Nothing. 1 million barrels from the U.S. strategic reserves is not taking down the price of gasoline. You saw it over the Brent crude numbers from the membership newsletter this week. If you have 50 countries worldwide have an oil shortage and one country releases some of its oil, it doesn't solve anything. And that's all that has happened. Just the United States. The partner allies have not released their oil because they don't have it. And I said that day one when the president announced this about 7 days ago. It doesn't work. So you're not going to see the price of gasoline going to go down. You're going to still pay a fortune for gasoline through the month of May, and we're going to recession. Number two, we have the wheat and grain industry, and that got even worse this week because I've been telling you since day one that all the wheat and grain that services the Middle East and Africa and Asia comes out of Ukraine. You heard me right. And they cannot harvest the wheat because they're defending the country. The farmers are battling in a war. They're not harvesting wheat. Crop's lost this season. Crop is lost next season because they got to fertilize and prepare for next season. And crop may be lost for seasons to come because guess what? There's a major war that's going on. So that is a major problem, and that could send us into recession because guess what? The wheat and grain prices in the United States, again, I almost fell into what Biden does incorrectly. It's not our prices, the international prices. The international prices of wheat, because again, it's a shortage internationally, are at the all-time high of a generation. No solution for this one either. The White House and the Western allies have gotten no solution on this front as either. And you can't afford a $7 loaf of bread at the supermarket indefinitely. Big recession there as well. So this is where things are getting a little bit dicey and very, very confusing across the board. Plus, there's a lot of things out there that we don't know the answers to. And as a very, very big financial news channel, as we are now, LA News, number 3 in the United States with the most watched show for financial news in prime time, I don't have a crew of 700 people in newsrooms in 20 countries. But if I did, I would ask whatever happened to that Putin default. Putin had $2 billion of principal repayment due April 4th. I have on set here an actual listing of when Vladimir Putin owes his debts. Isn't it just charming? I have it's next to my voodoo doll. Vladimir Putin owes debts this day and owes debts that day. So did he make the debts? I don't know. No one's covering this, and this is very troubling. Why is this troubling? Because U.S. banks likely have exposure to the debt. They likely have line items of debt exposures or income or asset exposures or securities exposures, and when they report those corporate earnings in just a few days and starting next week, they're likely to say, oh, by the way, did you know that I had a $500 million exposure to a Russian debt that has now been defaulted and is credit valueless? Well, no one asked. I never heard that. Well, no one asked me. That's why it's getting a little bit dicey. All right, let's go back over the latest details you need to know and my analysis to wrap the day. I have a lot of surprises for you across the board. Number one, where is this economy right now and where is the economy going? I've seen some great questions from viewers in the live chats on that in the last 24 hours. I can tell you that this is an economy right now that you haven't seen like this in maybe 15 years. Why? Because it looks really good in some cases. In other cases, it looks really bad. And let's go over where it is and where that's going to change to. It's really not good in the auto industry and the housing industry. It's really good in the labor market. If you need a job, you can get a job. There's 6 jobs available for every unemployed persons. There's really no unemployed people in the United States. That causes labor demand. You can demand a higher salary. It's all really good. What is not good, obviously, is inflation. You cannot afford these prices of gasoline, these prices of commodities like bread. And what happens is that the salary increases you're getting at work is not going up as fast as the inflation's going up. Is the inflation really at its peak? In my opinion, I don't think the inflation is going any higher. So I think that the 10-year treasury yields that they're trading up, I think we are really at the highest level of inflation. Is it sustaining itself? Yes, I don't think it's going to go down. So I think that there's a very high likelihood, it's higher than 50% likelihood, that whatever Jay Powell does between now and May, the prices you've seen are not going to come down. The prices of the pump, the prices of the wheat, the prices of anything, and potentially the prices of a lot of things are not coming down. I don't think his push on inflation is not going to work. What is going to go up is in interest rates. So if you have a mortgage, if you have a credit card payment, if you have anything that's on debt, it's going to go up. How bad is that going to be in the long term? I think it's going to be very bad. I think by the end of the year, you'll see how everything went crooked. Here's my prediction. It's April now, and last year in April, I was predicting that 8% inflation, 8% was going to be inflation rate in December 2021. I got it right on the mat. And I said it was not going to be temporary. I thought it was going to be sustained at that rate. That was despite what the Federal Reserve and Wall Street is saying completely opposite at the time. Now, what are my predictions for the end of the year? My predictions for the end of the year is that we'll be in full recession in 2023 for 2 years, number one. Number two, that the recession may start on the East Coast and then come to the West Coast. Number three, I think you'll see certain industries bubble. A bubble is where it burst, where it was looking really too good. People were doing a lot of euphoria, and then they got burnt badly. I think the housing industry is going to get burnt badly. I've seen the quotes. I have that quote. I don't want to name the name of the person, but it's a very prominent real estate company out of New York. And she said, who cares that the average price of a condo in New York is $6 million? And the mortgage rates are through the roof. Who cares? They're all paying cash. That's type of bubble. That's bubble chalk. When you talk like that, things burst and it gets very, very bad. I think that the auto industry is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's out of control. I was just on one of the U.S. auto manufacturers' local dealerships here in Southern California looking at their website last night. And they had one of the cars, it's a gas car, and they had about 30 of them available. I mean, that's a lot of cars in storage available. Remember how they had lack of cars in last year and they could ask a lot of money? 30 cars available. Guess what they're doing? Withholding the price on 30 cars. Call us to find out what the price is. That's bubblish. That's bubblish. No one's calling to ask about the price of 30 cars that you can't sell that are gas powered, that are trucks. That was it. That's where you lose your shirt. And so I think that's really where we're going. Now, on your front, I think your mindset has really improved dramatically. I think you've done a great job in recent days. You understand that there's a lot of moving pieces in this economy right now. And when there's a check available, you get the check. You do not wait around. You do not hem and haw. You do not say, well, no. Do you qualify for these checks? Oh, I do. Well, then go get them. Don't wait around. Do you qualify for check A? I do. Well, go get it. What are you doing? Do you qualify for B? I do. Well, what have you been doing? I've been what are you doing? Well, I'll get to it. I have the daughter's dance rehearsal tomorrow. It may be out of money by tomorrow. Go get that check right today. What about check C? You know what? I'm just, did you get C? Well, I'd rather have the MSC check from Fort Simmons Recon. Well, guess what? This pays an astronomical bigger sum. It pays her right now. And you have this as a reality. Build Back Better is not a reality yet. You can't live in things that may be reality when things are a reality and paying out checks. Do you not want $24,000? Well, I really do. I sort of do. Well, then go get it. Get that big check today. That is how people have gotten refocused really well. Memberships are through the roof on this channel. People are signing up because they understand that when there's checks available, you get those checks. We don't sit around and talk about maybe, how, who, he. We get checks when they're available. And that is how we pounce. We get every single check. And if you got checks, you can get more checks. Become a member right today. The membership newsletter comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. We got a huge recording tonight. It's Evenings LALATE at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's America's most watched show for financial news in prime time for a reason. It covers it all. It covers what you need to know about this economy now, where it's going. It covers where your money is, how you get more money, how you bring the money in. It gives you information about what Congress is doing and how it impacts your money, and it also goes over the international events that impact your money, so that you leave by the end of the night very informed, very educated, and very on top of the situation. Come to every video with a pen and paper. Sit back, get that cup of coffee, learn. Let the whole video play over the 45 or 1 hour running time. Let the video play because it'll answer your questions, and you'll get so much information by the end of the video that you'll be a better person. And then you'll be ready for the next video, and you'll be able to share the information with your friends and families. And with that, I'll see you tonight on Eating's LA. We got a big show tonight. It's 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to become a member and join me in that overnight show on this channel, LA Live. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.